I welcome you all to this webinar today, where we had since promised that we will be discussing about how and why did we fail during our own times, right? So this webinar is totally going to be about what is it to feel when you have failed and what did you learn about from your own failings. So here at Civilsdaily, we are a bunch of people who have learned from their mistakes. And today we are at this place where we are going to help you find out how, in a very rational manner, you're going to find out what time strategy means, how failure can help you find out how good you can utilize your time and finally clear this exam in your first attempt, how this evidence-based question making that we have been doing after having learned our own failures, and what are the specific areas which we are focusing over all these period of time. Over the last 4 or 5 years, what has been our success story? This is what we want to present in front of you. So let me just take you through to our first slide today, which is going to talk and tell you about the Hall of Fame for the year 2019. Guys, here you can see we have got almost 15 people, those who were there in the top 100. And if you would listen to them, you would find most of them talking about how nicely basically were they able to take help from Civilsdaily and what the mentorship program has been all about, how they have utilized the ecosystem which is provided here, and how they were able to successfully utilize and convert it into a glaring opportunity for them, which led them to success. Now, guys, this is what today's discussion is highly going to be about our failures, about our learnings, about the change and the adaptability that we have shown with regard to the changing scenarios. This is going to be an opportunity for you all as well to understand what actually takes to take the failure up on your jacket and then take it on your sleeves to show it to the world and finally come out in a winning. Now let us, guys, with this introduction, I'll just open this discussion today and I'll have the panelists for today's discussions and let you all also take part in the discussion today a little later in question and answer format. So guys, with this, I would like to introduce with us Sajal sir, Sukanya madam, Ajay sir, and Santosh sir. So here we have every one of us, and we are going to basically open each aspect of our failure in front of you all and let you know that where did we actually go wrong and what are the mistakes that we focused our attention on and ultimately find a solution to. So guys, one by one, we'll be opening these factors about our own preparation in front of us. And let us start this with Sajal sir. So Sajal sir, may I have you online? I guess they will have to wait till the time the mics are allowed to be opened. Till that time, they will be able to only write to us on SMS. May I just have the introduction? Since the introduction part is done, let us start this discussion today.
So I'll start with this. Basically, see, first of all, I welcome you all in this webinar. And the topic itself is it's amusing, it's funny because nobody talks about their failure. You must have seen hundreds of videos on YouTube about the success stories of rankers, but you didn't saw or there are very few videos available on those aspirants, those mentors who could not clear the exam. Because see, this exam is such that there are like 10 lakh, 20 lakh people who fill the form. There are only few hundreds who clear the exam, and there are some other very talented people who could not clear the exam. But it does not mean that they are less or they are inferior or they have been failure in life. It's not like that. So ultimately, I would say that let me start by talking about my first attempt. What are the major mistakes which I did in my first attempt? So I think the biggest fundamental mistake which I did was that I was relying on too many sources. So I was living in Old Rajendra Nagar, which is the Mecca of civil services. And every day we had this habit of going to walk in the evening for tea, etc. एंड जब भी मैं जाता था तो उस समय देयर वाज दिस सेंटर कॉल्ड कुमार बुक डिपो था, और उससे पहले और भी कई सारे थे। तो हर दिन जाके चाय के बाद आई यूज्ड टू सी द बुक्स। अरे नई बुक आ गई आर्ट एंड कल्चर की, ले लेते हैं। अरे नई बुक आ गई एनवायरमेंट की, ले लेते हैं। So in a matter of first 2 months or 3 months itself, I had almost 10 books of every subject. And the idea was, and after the first attempt, I realized, bhai, for one subject, you only need to rely on 1 or 2 books, and you need to revise that thoroughly. There's no point of going or you doing so many things or reading so many books again and again. I mean, that will only hurt you. Second very, very big mistake which I did in my first attempt. So I reached the interview stage, but somehow I missed by 6-7 marks. And at that time there was only one essay, and the topic of essay was GDH, which is gross domestic happiness. And gross domestic happiness, actually, I did some thesis on that during my master's. So my background is economics. And after I wrote the essay, I thought that I'll be scoring 140 plus, because I have written I've drawn the graphs, I've drawn everything. But when the marks came, I scored just 69 marks. So that was the fundamental mistake, and I missed by 6-7 marks. So if I would have scored 100 or 110, I would have got into properly IAS and IPS. So I think one lesson which I learned was that essay is not a technical paper. It's not testing your knowledge. You have to write to the point, and you don't have to be very technical. So that is the lesson which I learned, and certainly my marks did improve after the first attempt. But another mistake which I feel I've done, was that I was taking the language paper very casually. So in my second attempt, what I did was that you have this language paper, Hindi and English, which you have to pass. And I felt that probably, language, I had passed the language paper in the first attempt. So there's no need of studying. You can just go and, give the paper. And I did not prepare Hindi, and the paper that year was very tough. So second year I failed in Hindi. And when you failed in the language paper, your paper is not checked. So you even don't know about your marks also. So technically your second attempt is complete waste. Right?
Yes.
Also, I would say one more thing I will add before I'll move on to the other people, is that during the first few months, the newspaper reading that I had was pathetic, because I was reading everything. Ramvilas Paswan mile, inse I was reading. Ki kya pata ye bhi pooch lega.
I guess this has been the problem with most of us.
Yes. South Africa mein kuch hua, mine accident hua. I used to make notes of that. Itne log mare. So first 3-4 months, because I did not have the right guidance, I did not have the right center, तो वो भी एक प्रॉब्लम थी. और एक बेसिक प्रॉब्लम क्या रहती है, जैसे क्या होता है, बिजनेस न्यूज होती है. बिजनेस न्यूज में आता है कि वही एवरी मंथ का आता है कि इन्फ्लेशन का डेटा इतना है, एक्सपोर्ट का डेटा इतना है, इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ का डेटा इतना है. हम क्या करते हैं, हम नोट्स बनाते हैं. जरूरत नहीं है, आप वेस्ट कर रहे हो अपना टाइम. आपको एक ट्रेंड देखना है कि एक साल में क्या ट्रेंड रहा है. आपको हर महीने का नोट नहीं करना है. तो उस चक्कर में आई यूज्ड टू वेस्ट 3-4 आवर्स इन न्यूज़पेपर ओनली. So ये major mistakes थी. I'll probably shift to other people, because the panel is very big.
Yes. Okay. I generally can understand this, that most of us have had our struggle with newspapers during our early days. Everyone did really find newspaper which is either Hindu or Indian Express for that matter. We had to finish those 24 papers in a day, right? This was the target with most of us, isn't it? Like, we have to finish the 24 papers, make notes out of it. And literally we used to spend like 4-5 hours completing the paper itself. मतलब बाकी चीजों के लिए कोई समय नहीं रह गया हमारे पास. We are only redoing the papers only, right? So Sukanya, would you like to add something into it? Like what exactly has been your learning out of it?
Yeah, sure, Sudhanshu. I mean, it was like whatever Sir just said now, I just for a moment felt that I could really connect to all those ideas. Like, I was taken back to my own initial era of starting with the UPSC. So, see, for me, I was never in Delhi in my preparation era. So, like Sir said, he was there in the mecca of coaching center. So I was not there, because I had done my engineering from Chandigarh. So I started my preparation there only, and I decided that मैंने खुद ही पढ़ना है, like the basic philosophy that I'll study by myself, because see, the basic logic I used to think कि नहीं, see, पढ़ना तो खुद ही है, So उधर पे जाके coaching center में क्या हो जाएगा, right? So that was like the basic funda that I had initially. So this was, I think, one of the major mistake that I started with. कि पढ़ना खुद ही है, right? पढ़ना खुद ही है, but there is a direction that you need, and that direction is very important. That can help you save 2-3 critical attempts. क्योंकि in my first attempt, I made mistake with prelims. Then in my second attempt, I made mistake with mains. Then in my third attempt, I reached interview. So, instead of going one step, I could have directly gone to interview in my first very attempt had I had the right direction to work with. So I think that was the biggest mistake. It's not about coaching. It's not about going and sitting in those classes and jotting down notes. Today the idea of civil services is more about how do you get the right direction. You should like somebody if somebody tells you कि अच्छा ये पढ़ लो, ये कर लो, ये मत पढ़ो. Like आज तक I'll tell you something. आज तक मैंने लक्ष्मीकांत नहीं पढ़ी है, and I've given two interviews. क्योंकि मुझे किसी ने
what is it like? See, ये बहुत लोगों की problems आती है सुकन्या. A number of people they ask that they find Lakshmikant बहुत ज़्यादा bulky, voluminous to complete. Right? Literally, if page by page somebody is going to complete Lakshmikant, that will at least take 2.5 months. That is at least with concepts and clarity. So if one is investing 2.5 months completing Lakshmikant only, how is it possible that they are going to finish all other subjects in addition to the current affairs, then writing practice, then mock paper practice? How is it possible? How did you do it at the first place? Like about Lakshmikant thing.
I have never, like in my last attempt मैं ये सोच रही थी कि आप पढ़ लेती हूँ लक्ष्मीकांत, नहीं तो लोग बोलेंगे कि इंटरव्यू तक गई हुई और आज तक लक्ष्मीकांत नहीं पढ़ी है इसने.
What is the magic behind? How did you get the answers right?
So my idea was, see, basically polity is all about knowing what the constitution is all about, right? So I had actually downloaded an app. मैंने एक constitution का app download किया हुआ था, and I used to go through that app on a constant basis. तो मुझे आर्टिकल बाय आर्टिकल याद हो गया था थ्रू दैट ऐप कि क्या क्या चीजें हैं, what is there in which article, which schedule is what, and it used to be constantly updated. Apps are like that only. So
you basically found out a hack to complete polity without getting into the mundane way. जो वो mundane तरीका है ना कि पेज पलटो, लिखो, नोट बनाओ, वो सब हटा के you utilize a smarter way, right? Very nice. That's cool. Anything else, Sukanya, you would want to add into? Since you said that you were not in Delhi, so you are out of Delhi. And even then you could clear, right? Even then you reached an interview phase. So how did you manage? Like what kind of guidance did you get, even if you got, or maybe something that you tried on your own, in addition to polity wala stuff? Like what else did you do?
Right, that is what Sudhanshu, like I did not have the right guidance. So एक और बड़ा flaw in my study in the initial period was nobody told me कि you have to attend mocks, you have to do previous year question papers, right? तो मैं अपना first attempt was that मैं तो बिना previous year question करे वहां पे बैठ गई जाके पेपर में. So that is like right now, if somebody asks me whether it's important or not, I would say it's a crime if you do not attempt mocks and previous year question paper and go for this paper. I think I would consider it a crime. Right? That is
a crime now.
That is the level of advice I always give to my students. Like even now when I'm talking to my students. So
can I just have one small question?
Yes.
Expectedly, how many mock tests should one appear for? Like, is there any number that you suggest, or this also varies from person to person?
This can vary from person to person, but on an average, I mean, you should take care of something around 20 mock tests are good enough. Because see, it's not just about filling up those OMR, right? You know that we have to revise those mock papers also, right?
Yes.
So that kind of that takes a little bit of time. So I think 20 you can keep plus previous year question papers, like
previous year papers. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Sukanya, thank you so much for your inputs. Definitely, it takes heart to come out with your failures and then count it in front of others. Okay, let me have Ajay here, and then we'll go to Santosh. So, Ajay, can you tell me what have you learned? Like, kya raha?
Hi, Sudhanshu.
Hey.
So, first I will start with what Sajal sir said, that like despite failures in this examination, we have achieved a successful career, and this is what matters. Sometimes बहुत disheartening होता है failure in this examination, but you need to take it up your chin. और बहुत सारे options होते हैं life में. So that has like ये attitude हम सबको has helped to get a good career. और यहाँ पे हम लोग हैं. Now when I go back to my preparation phase, so one advantage that I had is I had very good teachers when I went. मतलब तब तो when we started, then everybody said that without coaching तो होना ही नहीं exam, right? So at that time, content was a big issue then. So we had to go for a coaching, and I was very fortunate. I was laborious enough that first year में I was able to put in a lot of effort and learn a lot of stuff. जिसकी वजह से first attempt में ही I was able to clear the first two stages of this examination and appear in the personality test. और वहां से ये प्रॉब्लम हो गया कि when I in the first attempt when I was able to do this, then I thought कि अच्छा ये एग्जाम तो उतना टफ नहीं है जितना everybody thinks कि जितना टफ है. तो मेरा तो पहले ही अटेम्प्ट में हो गया, ऐसे तो इतना आसान नहीं, मतलब इतना ही आसान होगा, मतलब नेक्स्ट इस बार थोड़े से रह गया. तो देन आई मिस अराउंड 7 मार्क्स से फाइनल से जो है लिस्ट में नाम रहा था. तो उस वजह से मैंने जो है कंसेप्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग पे बहुत ज्यादा फोकस किया. मेरे को कंसेप्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग काफी सही थी पॉलिटी, हिस्ट्री, इकोनॉमी, ज्योग्राफी की. व्हाट आई मिस्ड इज along with conceptual understanding, memorization is very important in this examination. That I was able to realize only after third attempt or fourth attempt. कि when you see a topic in mains, तो उस पे 5 points, 6 points, positive, negative, should come within 5 seconds. वो memorization शायद मेरा मिस हो गया. Conceptual understanding.
So Ajay, if I understood you right, are you trying to focus on note making process?
Yeah, this is what, like, I was able to make notes, but most of the times I felt that I was not able to revise those notes properly or update those notes properly that was required. So I had the topics prepared in my notes, I had in them, but I was not able to recall them in the heat of this examination. Then I wrote very generalistic answers, and I got very general marks in my optional or very essay or GS subjects.
Okay, so basically point is, I guess, Ajay, अगर हमको आपसे सीखना है कुछ, so I guess now at least you definitely can tell somebody that what kind of note one should make. Right, because note making is an art which varies from person to person. My strength and my weaknesses could be something else, not exactly that of Sukanya or maybe Santosh or maybe you, right? So my note making will be definitely reflecting my strength and my weaknesses in the notes that I make. So it has to be very, very methodical. It has to be very precise, because note making is not a process of writing another book for yourself, which you cannot revise at the end of the day, right? It's very important that you can. Yeah, absolutely
correct, Sajal. For example, if I give an example from polity, if मेरा polity ठीक ठाक strong है, and if I have memorized fundamental rights, fundamental duties, सब तैयार है मेरे को, I have them on the fingertips. Why should I make notes on that? Right? I should make notes on parliamentary committees. I should make notes on the current affairs cases that are going on in the news. That is very important, and revising them. I remember a story. मेरी एक friend थी, very methodical coaching है, first seat पे बैठना, पूरे एक साल पे बहुत अच्छे notes बनाए. She had this thick booklet prepared of current affairs, जिसमें newspaper cutting एक तरफ चिपकाई हुई है, एक तरफ color pen से notes बनाए हुए, memorize. But end of the day, first year में she was not able to revise it, and she did not qualify prelims. We had both studied in the same coaching, had the same level of knowledge, but first attempt she was not able to qualify prelims, and then she got dejected. क्या हुआ?
Great. It's a great learning.
कि notes बनाना आसान होता है, लेकिन revise हम नहीं करते. What Sajal sir said, keep your sources limited, revise them multiple times. Your topics should be on your fingertips. अगर article 20 आता है तो 3 points जो article 20 के you should be able to recall in the mid of the night. रात में 12 बजे कोई उठा के पूछे अजय आर्टिकल 20 बताओ, okay, no double jeopardy, no expecto post facto, no self incriminating evidence. इस तरह से.
Okay, cool.
If you do
that
this,
that was
it
a
will
great
help.
that was a great bit of humor into it. Yes.
So actually, I want to add on to this कि तीसरे चौथे अटेम्प्ट तक आते आते आपको ये पता होता है कि लक्ष्मीकांत में 61 पेज पे क्या आने, जब 60 पेज पे आप होते हो ना तो यू नो कि नेक्स्ट पेज पे क्या होगा, पर आपको ये करना है कि साइकोलॉजिकल हेल्प के लिए आपको पढ़ना है कि यार प्री आ गया तो लेट्स रिवाइज इट, बिकॉज दैट इज व्हाई आई एम सेइंग फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट इज ऑलवेज द बेस्ट अटेम्प्ट बिकॉज यू आर फ्रेश. फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में यू आर फ्रेश, you have not seen any failures and nobody expects you to clear, so you don't have any pressures from the family, from the friends that you will clear the exam, and that is why the best comes out of you. तो इसलिए पहले अटेम्प्ट में आप जो भी लोग हैं यहाँ पे जो फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट वाले हैं यार 2022 को समझो कि ये लास्ट अटेम्प्ट होना चाहिए, 5 ईयर प्लानिंग करके मत आओ यहाँ पे
पंचवर्षीय योजना.
अच्छा, I will take just 2 minutes more, Sudhanshu. Okay, when we start preparing, when students are preparing, our time we will know. Like when I started, I told you that उस समय सब लोग कहते थे कोचिंग कंपलसरी है, कोचिंग कंपलसरी, बिना कोचिंग के नहीं होता. तो क्यों नहीं होता था? क्योंकि कंटेंट अवेलेबल नहीं था उस समय, राइट? उस समय कंटेंट ही नहीं था कि आप पॉलिटी, हिस्ट्री, इकोनॉमी, ज्योग्राफी के नोट्स नहीं थे. 2013 में पूरा पैटर्न ऑफ एग्जामिनेशन भी चेंज हुआ था. एथिक्स के नोट्स नहीं मिलते थे, लेक्सिकॉन की बुक होती थी, वो इट्स जस्ट डिक्शनरी थी, राइट?
Yes.
But when students are preparing now, अब जो लोग प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं, आई वुड से कंटेंट इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. टेलीग्राम पे सारे वीडियोस अवेलेबल है, यूट्यूब पे सारे अवेलेबल है, मटेरियल की कमी नहीं है. इट इज एन ओशन आउट देयर.
अभी जाता है.
बिल्कुल. तो नाउ द व्हाट अप्रोच शुड बी देयर is having someone to guide you through this. तो इसलिए we have designed a program, mentorship वाला, that mentorship is more important right now rather than having the sources and attending a traditional coaching type of setup.
Okay. I need to sort of inform our students today that Ajay has got an experience of mentoring directly over 500 students. So he has got this experience, and that's how this all gyan is coming from. So guys, let me quickly go to Santosh sir here. Santosh, can you just elaborate on the kind of failures you dealt with during your time? I mean, you have a unique story to tell, I'm sure. Like you cleared all your prelims, more than 45 marks above the cutoff, right? Like what is the story behind it? Can you tell us?
Sir, actually मुझे जो problem थी ना, like I had the problem of overconfidence. Like fresh out of IIT, and I thought, okay, मेरे से अच्छा तो कोई जानता ही नहीं. Like I know everything. I will clear prelims for first attempt, clear mains for first attempt, and will become IAS in first attempt itself, probably within the 10. So I used to calculate, okay, इतना number आ जाएगा, तो मैं top 10 में आ जाएगा. But of course, relative ऐसा turn out नहीं हुआ. But it's like first attempt prelims में जैसे सर ने कहा, अजय सर ने कि कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी की बात, लाइक मुझे भी बहुत अच्छा क्लैरिटी आ गया था. लाइक इस यूज्ड टू हैपन कि मैं भी नेवर मेड नोट्स फ्रॉम द लक्ष्मीकांत कि ओके आई एम सिटिंग देयर रीडिंग. एंड एक्चुअली हम लोग जब पढ़ते थे ना, 2-3 लोगों ने ऐसा किया कि ठीक है तुम आर्टिकल 1 बताओ, क्या मैं 2 बताता हूँ, तुम यू से 3 आई से 4. तो वो जो प्रेशर क्रिएट हुआ उसमें क्या हुआ कि आई ऑलमोस्ट रिमेम्बर मोस्ट ऑफ द आर्टिकल, एंड जो लक्ष्मीकांत का जो भी बोरिंग स्टफ है, फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज, डीपीएसपी, मतलब लाइन में लाइन याद हो गया. इट्स लाइक मैंने अपने आप को कॉन्फिडेंस दे दिया कि इफ आई हैव रेड एनी टॉपिक, then I will be able to solve. I must be able to solve the question in exam. अगर वो टॉपिक आ जाता है तो गलती हो गया तो इट्स लाइक ए क्राइम, उसमें नहीं होना चाहिए.
Okay, guys, here I need to tell you specifically, Santosh sir has cleared all the 6 prelims he had attended. When the cutoff marks used to be 95, he used to score 145.
Yes.
almost 50% over the cutoff, and he has been this confident all throughout. Yes.
मेरा रूममेट बोलता था कि यार इसका आधा मुझे दे दो, मैं क्वालिफाई कर जाऊंगा. 100 से ऊपर जितना आ रहा है कट ऑफ से ऊपर गिव मी, मैं क्वालिफाई कर जाऊंगा. लेकिन क्या ऐसा पॉसिबल होता? बट इवन सर इन 2014 जब सीसैट था, तो I was like very low confident कि CSAT में कैसा गया नहीं गया. I scored even 98 उस टाइम पे. अब मुझे लगा था कि 98 ही GS में ही आएंगे, लेकिन जब मैंने मार्क्स चेक किया तो there I got 132 and here 98.
So you got 132 in GS basically, right?
Yes, 132 in GS.
Amazing.
I was estimating okay 110 के maximum जा सकता है, but I got 132 and here I won 98.
Amazing.
Very good.
First time उस टाइम पर भी, और उसके बाद वो फिर बढ़ाई 142, 145 up to गया. लेकिन I think अगर हम मिस्टेक की बात करें तो I was like जो फर्स्ट मेरा बिलीव था कि okay I know everything, वही प्रॉब्लम हो गई. जैसे सुकन्या ने बोला कि जो गाइडेंस लाइक प्रीलिम्स का तो मैं हमेशा फोड़ के आता था, लाइक मैं बोलता था अरे मैं सो जाऊंगा, मतलब 1 घंटे सो भी गया एग्जाम में तो भी मेरा हो जाएगा.
Are you taking care of like prelims based some content? Do you have prelims based content which others can get benefited from?
Yes, I have recently prepared one polity fundamental subject aspect. Like usually the questions come from what is definition of liberty, what is definition of constitutionalism. I think these things are not in market anywhere in proper the way we should. It should be there. When usually someone get too focused on the political science purpose, but we need some precise content over these type of 4 or 5 questions that come in polity syllabus that is also not covered in the Lakshmi. I think cool. That I have shared with this Super 25 students.
Sure. Super 25 group has received this material, right?
Yes, I have.
Cool.
We also
yes, Sajal sir, boliye.
No, I'm saying that we are also starting from Monday, the most probable question wala initiative, and that's free on YouTube.
YouTube is free one. Okay.
Yes, sir. I will be taking on the economics most probable questions for like 1.5 months.
So basically, funda is, see guys, for me, let me tell you about me as well. Others have really opened up about the failures. I was working with GE for a good while. I was working there as a management trainee, about to be promoted as AM very soon. So basically, once I got into Ministry of Defense, and then I realized that UPSC to dena banta hai. Like we should appear for this exam UPSC. We should find ourselves a ladder to move up in the social stratum. एक अच्छा job करो I mean देश के लिए. Then I realized I started preparing for this exam. The only drawback out of my preparation was I decided it a little too late that I should appear for this exam. I could only attempt 3, but out of these 3, I got 2 interviews as well. Now, in addition to that, I even cleared some public service commissions with a difference of only 3 marks. I could not clear RPSC, RAS exam hota. Other than that, WB ka bhi ho gaya tha, West UP ka bhi hua tha. But the point here that I'm trying to make here is that it is very important that you make a distinction that you are taking up this exam as early as possible. Yes. So basically, the point is that we all should, by some time in our life, be ready to take a call that yes, this is the time. And let me also tell you, and I can read it from here itself, like all 45, 50 of you, right? You're not here just to just spend your time. You all value your time as much as you value about and you think about this exam. And you're here to learn from the mistakes that you have committed. So guys, the mistakes which we have all talked about has been general in nature. None of us had any area which was so isolated in nature that it did not help others. Ajay sir had a problem with respect to the mentorship. He could not get he actually got the good guidance, but he had a problem with Ajay sir. Can you tell me again what was the actual problem?
I did not focus on memorizing and revising.
Notes making, yes. I'm sorry. Notes making. Sukanya madam had a problem with respect to the mocks that she would attempt. The mock paper plus she was also out of the Mecca of Delhi, because when she prepared, it was all about Delhi, Rajendra Nagar. But at this point of time, we have students sitting in Andhra Pradesh, Kurnool, Kurj, Assam, Meghalaya. Right? We have students all across Jammu and Kashmir as well. So you can understand that despite the inhibitions of 2G, we were able to provide them material. We used to call them. So the point is that at this point of time, definitely the problem faced by Sukanya madam has been taken care of. Notes making, since it is always about your individual strength and weakness, your strength and weakness cannot be a copy of mine, and hence your notes cannot be a copy of mine.
So I also want to add on one thing, that every aspirant is different. एक कोई यहाँ uniform strategy नहीं. There is no uniform strategy here that okay, if you follow this strategy, you will crack the UPSC exam. For example, I received this query from a lot of the students कि भाई 3 के पेपर में how many questions should we solve? Should we attempt 95 questions? Should we attempt 75 questions? So basically, it depends on individual to individual. Those aspirants whose guesswork is good, they can attempt 95 questions, no problem. I personally, I have never attempted more than 75 to 80 questions in the pre-exam. And I always scored, I always cleared, cut off by minimum 20 marks. So ultimately, it depends on every student. It depends on every individual. That is where mentorship also plays an important role. That individual strengths or weakness के basis पे we chalk out a plan for every aspirant. कि भाई हाँ, ये बंदा ऐसा है, इसकी ये strength है, क्योंकि हर आदमी डायग्राम नहीं बना सकता अपने आंसर्स में. अगर वो नहीं बना सकता डायग्राम, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो क्रैक नहीं कर सकता एग्जाम. उसके लिए फिर हमें स्ट्रेटजी बी देखनी पड़ेगी, स्ट्रेटजी सी देखनी पड़ेगी. एंड देयर आर मल्टीपल स्ट्रेटजीज व्हिच कैन वर्क.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civilsdaily.